What's going on, LNU Duelists? Today I got my boy Sword with me.
Hello.
We're just going to be going over a branded Despia deck profile. So how you feeling?
I thought you said math mech.
Math mech? Wrong deck.
And that's okay. I
Alright.
stopped on my branded one anyway, so. Hello. This is the first time that I know of that my friend here is showing a branded deck. So I'd like to go over a quick rundown of what it does. The main thing about branded is you gotta rely on branded fusion, in which you're going to need your lubers. However, the main problem with branded is that it dies to Ash Blossom, and it's really hard to get out of it. Luckily, I made a deck that can either not only stop Ash Blossom, but also can actually do a lot more stuff around it. And I'd love to show that with you guys right now.
Let's get into it then.
Alright. We're gonna start off simple with 3 copies of a Luber. And followed by 3 copies of branded fusion. And 3 copies of branded opening. These are your main combo starters, with Aluba being your search, branded fusion being your cracked tree to everything. Well, once it goes off. And then branded opening is not only protection in grave, but it's also a way to get out any of your Despias. Followed by that, we have 3 copies of Fallen of Albaz. This can be bricky depending on how you play. However, this is a 45 deck for me. So if you want to run anything lower, I do recommend only 2 Fallen of Albaz. We're going to follow this up by 1 copy of Kit for an extra search, 1 copy of Cartesia for because everything is really searchable in this deck. It's really easy to grab this out whenever you need it. Follow that up, we're going to follow by 2 copies of Quem. This is for a backup in case if we have to go for plan B. 1 copy of Tragedy, good discard target, and really good for banishing for package we got in a little bit. We have 1 copy of Dramaturge, which is going to be really helpful for negates, and also using it for fusion materials with Cartesia and anyone else. Follow that up, we have 2 copies of Mercuria, a really good hand trap, and one of your best targets for discarding and banishing. And follow that up, and to finish this up, 1 copy of Albion the Shrouded. Good draw power, gets some traps and spell cards that we need in the grave. Really good. So after that, we're going to use our second package, which is kind of the hardest one, which are the Bestials. We run 2 copies of the main 3 level 6s, and 1 copy of the level 8. These cards are really good for branded if you need cards to banish. Really good for everything, because at worst case scenario, they're a brick in hand, and at best, they do everything the deck was lacking. So we also follow this up by 2 copies of Branded Regain, and 1 copy of Branded Beast. This is always set up. You got a good draw engine with Mahagamut, Jerusalem, and Regain. You can send stuff to the graveyard with Sayanir. You can use Rebellion to get any of your continuous spells back up. And overall, it's a really good engine if you know what you're doing. You got casual, like, normals and quick play spells from Branded. Branded Red, really good target if you want for disruption. Branded White, if Branded Fusion does get Ash, this is a really good target. We have Branded Lost for good fusion and to recover stuff. So let's say if you need an extra Mercuria for another play, you get it from that. Then followed up, we finally have 2 traps, being Retribution and Brightest Blazing Branded King as one of our spices. This card can actually negate all effects on the field except for 1 Fallen of Albaz fusion you target. But for the unfortunate part, where whenever it does go to if a fusion monster does go to the graveyard while it's in the graveyard, it does not set it immediately. It has to go back to your hand. So you do have to wait 1 turn. And to round things out, we got some engine, 2 Ash Blossoms, because we do need the consistency with hand traps, and 1 Called by the Grave. Being at 1 is really annoying, but when it shows up, your plays are guaranteed to be safe. And then to follow that up, we have the newest cards that are pretty fun for the deck. Triple Duality and Triple Shadows Light.
My man's got the goo.
Yeah, this stuff goes really good with extra deck. It allows you to do a lot of things. Most of the cards that get targeted and negated, we can actually, with like Impermanent and Infect Veiler, we can use Duality to tribute it and summon another fusion monster and keep on going with our normal plays. It's really good. However, there are some places that one might be better than the other, but it all depends on whatever you want to run. So now we're going to go with our extra deck, which is our main powerhouses of the deck. Double Mirror Jade, because it's a really good boss monster. It also does a really good, what I call, Mirror Sneeze at the end of the turn if it does get sent away from the field. We have one Sanctifier, which is a really good boss monster, but I honestly think it's a bit too overhyped, unless you want to do some certain things with, like flooding, with like locking your opponent out of the game, which it's really good at that point. One copy of Albion. I don't have any room because of my personal preference, but 2 is also really good. We have one copy of Lubellion, which is a good buy to have on the field for tanking like hits and stuff, and it's also really good if you need to like shuffle back some of your banished cards. Next, we have one copy of Grand Eagle. This is a really good card and can help out with some nice stuff if it gets impermed while you have Duality in hand. We're also going to round this out with Rinbrum, one of the best Fawn of Albaz targets, because not only can it negate and bounce one card in the field, but you can also special summon it back whenever you need it. Then we have Brigand, just as a target for sending the graveyard to special summon Fallen of Albaz at the end of turn, or adding Mercuria if we need it. We then have Guardian Chimera, our main target for Branded in Red, which at worst just lets you draw 1 and pop 2 cards on the field, and at best gives you 2 pops, 3 searches, 2 draws, and a negate on board. And then we have Despia and Proskinian to round things out for our normal stuff, because sometimes if they take away your Lulu with like Kashtira, or so I've seen sometimes some Cherry Blossom, this helps out a lot, and it's also a boss monster that people are surprised about with its effects. Yoinking your opponent's Baron at the graveyard and using its negate is always fun. Alright, and to finish this all up, we're going to have a copy of Despia, really good boss monster and a good plan B, and Lulu Wereth. This card is also really good to cheat out with Grand Eagle. And finally, we're going to have our creative cards for Shadow's Light and Duality. I currently have most of them on lending, so I'm going to hopefully get them back soon. This card is going to be Bayvi's Pendulum Dragon, which is a really good card, and also makes all monsters on the field with attack 0 effects negated. It's like a skill drain for monsters with 0 attack, which you can actually pair up with Despia and Quertus, which is another card I do not have access to at the moment, but that's also really good for this. Next up is going to be Dragoon. This is going to be really good for your tag out from Grand Eagle into Dragoon. You have not only negate, but you can also get Lulu out for free as well, and also participate a couple draws. And then finally, Herald of the Arkwright. Auto banish anything from any cards from the hand or main deck, and it also is an Omni negate. Really good for the deck when you need it. And for the side deck, we're running 2 copies of a lot of stuff, 2 copies of Raiden the Kaiju, 2 copies of Lightning Storm, maximum we can run, 1 copy of Feather Duster, 2 copies of Talents, 2 Dark Rulers, 2 Evenly Matched, a Branded Banishment for the mirror match, Fusion Duplication for if I do get Ash Blossom Game 2, and finally Masquerade for Time and Alba Laurentiis for the Dragons.
Alright, so sorry, let's see a few combos, if you will.
Alright, so this is going to be one of our basic combos using Alubra as our opener. Let's see what the other 4 cards are. Oh, hey. Yep, that's a pretty good hand. Alright. So we're going to start things off by activating Branded Regain. Then immediately doing that, activate Opening. We're going to discard this Eluber for a second Eluber. We're then going to use the effect of the Eluber to add Branded Fusion. We are then going to activate Branded Fusion. We're going to send Fallen of Albaz and the Bestial Lubellion to make Albion the Branded. We'll then use the effect of Albion the Branded to fuse the Fallen of Albaz Engrave with our Luba, the Joker Despia on field, for Lubellion. We're then going to do a double chain link of chain link 1, the Lubellion, discarding for cost the Saiyan name. Chain link 2 Regain, we're going to target the Eluber. And it's going to resolve when we send the Eluber, this Eluber, back to the bottom of the deck. We draw another card. We then shuffle these two back in. For a Mirror Jade. The effect of Saiyan will also pop as well. So we will drop whatever spell or trap that we want. But for this case, we are going to go with Branded Loss. We are then going to tribute the Albion for Lubellion. We're then going to activate the effect of Lubellion to set up a Branded Beast. And with that, we are good enough to end our turn, and during end phase, Beast will resolve, targeting the loss to set up. Albion will also resolve, letting us set one of two different spells or traps. It's either going to be Branded in red or Brightest Blazing Brand King. In this situation, let's go with red. And this is just one of the basic combo. This is like the most basic combo. You have 2 interruptions, a tribute, recovery. You also have an extra bestial to like either banish your Albion, so that we can draw another card. And you also have protection with opening in the graveyard. This is just one of the combos that we have that is just, well, basic. Alright, so this is going to be the last combo for now. This is going to be with if we get Ash Blossomed. So let's draw 5 cards. Okay, for this one, we're going to activate Albion the Shrouded. We are going to send Retribution for Grave, send it to the bottom of the deck, and draw and replace it. We'll then activate Branded Fusion, and hey, it gets Ash. You know what that means. Alright, I just respond, so this is how you actually counter the Ash Blossom. Alright, let's draw our opening hand. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to activate Branded Opening. We're going to discard the Tragedy, and then special summon the Eluber. Use the effect of Eluber, and we are going to instead of directly grabbing Branded Fusion, because hey, we got lucky and opened it in our opening hand, we add Branded in white. Or hey, if you want to, even if you want to just do a bit more, Branded in red. Choice is yours, my friend. But in this case, we'll do Branded in white. The effect of Tragedy will also activate, letting us add our good old friend and most underrated Despia card, Dramaturge. Now we're going to activate the Branded Fusion, and it's going to get negated. Because of this, we're not just locked into fusions. So if you had already had a Quem, and you wanted to just bait out the Branded Fusion, don't worry. This is another way you can do it. You activate the Quem, use Quem's effect. You can dump any Fallen of Albaz card or Branded card. In this case, we're going to dump Blazing Cartesia. We are then going to activate Branded in white. Actually, not yet. Going to activate Bestial Drewsworm, targeting the Tragedy. Banish it. Special summon. Activate the Branded in white. Fuse off the Drewsworm and the Dramaturge. For a Despia Quertus. With that, Dramaturge effect will activate Engrave, letting you special summon it, and also you're going to want to chain Guiding Quem to it, targeting Blazing Cartesia to special summon. You're then going to want to activate the effect of Blazing Cartesia. You're going to infuse these two off. For Grand Eagle. Use the effect of Grand Eagle to add to Send a Grave and Albion. And with this, you're going to want to, you can end your turn here, and during end phase, a similar chain of events is going to resolve. Blazing Cartesia will add back to hand. Albion the Branded will also let you add or set a spell or trap card, which in this case we're going to go with Branded in red. And now the big difference about if you get ashed is if you can make the comeback. For example, if you know your opponent needs a key play, you can activate Quertus if they have like a bunch of monsters on board about to end battle phase, or if they summon a monster from the extra deck, use Dramaturge immediately. And then if they try to do anything that targets it, activate the Branded in red, target the Eluber Engrave, add to hand, and then you're going to want to fusion summon using the Dramaturge, the Eluber, and the Cartesia in hand. This is one of the biggest risks of the deck because you're taking out one of your best cards to special summon out Guardian Chimera. But because of this, a chain of events will actually resolve backwards. You will be able to pop a card in the field, draw 2. You can use Guiding Quem to special summon back Albion. Let's say if you actually want to know your placement, you can special summon it here, special summon back Albion, and then special summon Dramaturge. And then you'll also be able to draw 2 cards. And depending on what you draw, you could draw extra Ash Blossoms, extra Negates, and hell, you can even banish the Grand Eagle to go into Luluelith. But what's what I think is the most important part about getting ashed is what you can do turn 3. Because this is a good board with all the interruption you have. So you're also going to want to make sure one more thing. Your next turn, it counts. So let's say Albion, Chimera, and Dramaturge all go to the grave. You use the effect of Albion one more time, and then you add back whatever card you want to your hand. In this case, we're going to be re-adding another Branded Fusion. And now this is where you can make it or break it. You draw. That's an okay hand. We're going to activate Brand Regain. We're going to activate the effect of Tisania, targeting the Guardian Chimera. Banish it, special, use the effect of Regain, put it back, draw another card. We're then going to normal summon another Quem, use its effect, to dump this time a Fallen of Albaz. We're then going to sync these 2 off for Despia. And because Sania left the field, activates effect, Use Guiding Quem, targeting the Fallen of Albaz. Special summon. Dump another card. In this case, let's say... Branded Lost. Now on the summon, you can activate Fallen of Albaz's effect, discarding the card you added, and let's say your opponent, and then use any cards that your opponent used. Let's say they have like an extra deck monster, Mirror Jade. Then you can use the effect of Despia to target back your Grand Giggle to special summon it back out, or any other of your banished monsters. And that's really what I love about Branded.
All right, so Sword, I do appreciate you giving me this deck profile, coming out and recording it. It was great. I learned a lot about the deck, but do you have any specific thoughts, about the deck, about how it competes with other decks in the meta?
Well, I do. Well, let's go. I do want to be negative Nancy first, then I say the good stuff. 1, the deck just dies to Ash Blossom. You'll be lucky if you don't get like a heart attack if you're a hardcore player. 2, they're just, because of like how fusions are, with how people say there's a fusion bias, there's not really that many good light or dark fusions. We don't have any quick access to Omni Negates, like let's say like a Synchro deck or a Xyz deck. We don't have good access to like complete destruction like Pendulums or Xyz. We don't have a good generic boss monster like Lynx. We're just kind of stuck with what we got. And just to add on to that, there are just some hands that if you don't open any of your searchers, you're just screwed. There's literally nothing you can do. While other decks in the meta can flourish off of exactly what they need. Just like one card can get them to everything else they need, no Ash Blossom needed. But then we get to what I love about Branded, and what made me like the deck so much and want to share so much about it. It's a deck that is so open-ended. Unlike a lot of other decks that have like a combo line, like let's say Kashtira, you use Fenrir or you use Unicorn, then you go on those 2 single lines to end up at the same place. With Branded, you have to use your first few routes to get up to your Branded Fusion, and then you can sprout out like a tree. It's all about like different combos, like you can end off with more Bestials than normal, you can end off with more interruptions, and the deck is, by itself, it's already pretty alright, but it's also how creative you can get. Following just a normal deck profile is not going to get you much, because Branded is all about personal preference. Some people run 2 Fallen of Albazes, some people run 3. Some people run 2 Cartesias, others run 3. Hell, I've seen people just play 1 Aluba and go for it from there. And that's what I love. There's so much you can do with the things you got. But that's not, and there's also one more thing I have to mention. Branded is not, this is going to sound extremely cheesy, but Branded is not just a deck. It's a lifestyle. The mental mind games you have to do with Branded is so much that you have to know exactly what your opponent is playing, what their eye movements are, if you think they have Ash, and you have to know what deck they are and what is your best combo lines to do it. And this is even before you play your Branded Fusion. You have to know exactly what you're going to go for and how you want to do it. Do you want to have extra targeted destruction with Beast and Rebellion? Or do you want to have more negates with Rinbrum, Grand Eagle, and Dragoon? It's all just this one crazy deck that it's just like that your own personal deck profile and what exactly you're going up against. It's just amazing for locals. But that is another thing. This deck is really, really bad online because you have to go with like such a standardized notice. Because if you don't, if you played exactly wrong, oh hey, the board you built for Kashtira's won't work against Trap Tricks, and vice versa. Which is why I don't recommend it for like online play, and I highly recommend it for in-person play, where you can actually see people do exactly what they're doing. I would like to give a shout out to my locals like Gamescape, and I want to see them flourish because they moved to a new place. And I'd also like to add a like goal if that's okay with you.
Sounds good to me.
All right. would go for 20 likes. I will show up again, and also I will show you some more builds branded. My current build that I actually run a lot, besides this one I'm currently testing out, and some other builds you want like Adventurer, Dogmatica, Fusion Bait, and also a Synchro build that I've been working on for a while.
Sounds good, bro. Well, y'all let him know in the likes and the comments, bro. Run it up.
And hey, if we get 100 on all of them, who knows? Maybe I might make an entire branded video.
Heck yeah.